And yesterday, the president tweeted, quote, the liberal left, also known as the Democrats, want to get rid of ICE, who do a fantastic job and want open borders. Crime would be rampant and uncontrollable. Make America great again. Joining me now to discuss is counseling to President Kellyanne Conway. All right, good evening, Kellyanne. I have to tell you something. I just wrote it down again. When they say ICE isn't doing what it was created to do, what do they think ICE was created to do? Serve coffee and tea?
Well, that's an excellent question that nobody is asking them. I think it's time to tamp down the emotion and go for some of the information. If you quizzed most of those people, including elected officials, as to why ICE was created in the first place in response to 9/11, and what it is supposed to be doing, and by the way, what it does do. At the White House, we're working on that exact document so that people get information. ICE provides so many services that are critical to everyone's security in this country. Jeanine, do you know when Kirsten Gillibrand is jumping on the abolish ICE train up in New York, where she's a United States senator, the ICE has removed 40 criminal aliens in recent weeks. I mean, she's going against the security of her own people when she calls for this nonsense. Cynthia Nixon, an actress who happens to be running for governor against Andrew Cuomo and pulling him to the left, is saying they're a terrorist organization. No, you've got it backwards. They stop terrorists from coming into the country. They also seize thousands of pounds of narcotics, and they get rid of child smugglers, and they detect people who are transnational gang members. I mean, the president is putting it this way. It's a binary choice. You're either for open borders and the crime that comes with that, or you're for a sovereign nation that has physical borders and less crime. And let me say one more thing. You see this argument now with the Democrats. You've got some of the older, more senior Democrats saying, well, I don't think abolishing ICE is a good idea. And you've got Democrats disingenuously talking about immigration reform when President Trump brought them to the table in the cabinet room for 1 solid hour in January, and all they wanted to talk about was the Dreamers, was DACA. They didn't want to talk about immigration reform. The president's the one with the 70-point immigration plan that he boiled down to 4 points. It's been up for a vote in Congress. They're being disingenuous when they say they want to do this.
Well, clearly, I mean, the president was willing to go with DACA, and they weren't. I mean, think about it. When Obama was president and he had the ability in the House and the Senate, he didn't do anything. And, you know, they want to make it an issue, or so it seems, and never resolve it so they can say that the Republicans are against it. But what I don't understand, Kellyanne, it's like saying to people, we don't want this police force, and immigrants should be able to come in. We don't want to know who they are, what their records are, if they have a record. We just, you know, don't care anymore. Do people not understand the impact on finances here?
That's right. Well, I think the average American does. I think Americans do understand the impact on their financial security, on their everyday security. But also, you see this, Mark Penn was Hillary Clinton's pollster and chief strategist. He came out with the Harvard-Harris poll where he asked the question about abolishing ICE. Do you know not abolishing ICE, keeping ICE as it is, got tripartisan support? Majorities of Republicans, Democrats, and independents all agreed that abolishing ICE is not a good idea. So these Democrats who are just trying to out-left each other for 2020, having done absolutely nothing in 2017 or 2018 that I can point to, they're already thinking about 2020. Folks, do something in 2018 that's meaningful. So they're saying abolish ICE, but basically they're instead of advising consent, they're doing obstruct and distract. Instead of abolish ICE, they should be thinking about how to protect our borders. And there are a lot of Democrats, I think, getting very nervous about where the party is truly going. And let's see who's following them leftward off the cliff.
Well, I think that, you know, when the president said in that recent interview, he said, you know what, it's a great issue. If they want to go forward with that, and you and I both know the president has great instincts. He really gets it. He's an outsider president. He made it. Everyone said he wouldn't make it. I mean, he gets it that Americans, in addition to the economy, they want safety and security. And by saying we want open borders, we want to abolish ICE, we want something, who said they wanted something kinder, and they don't want a deportation force.
And let's reimagine ICE, whatever that means. Hey, Jeanine, guess what? They say they're for open borders, but none of them has the guts to go and put the bill. They go out to the protest. They don't go in the well of the Senate. They don't go in the House and introduce bills that say, we're going to reimagine borders. We're going to reimagine the fact that Congress made it a crime to enter the country illegally. None of them have the guts to do that. Where's the piece of legislation? It's cheap and easy to go wave a sign and go scream into a megaphone. It's harder work to come back here to Washington and actually do your jobs. And you know what? This president, he's on task every single day, and he ran successfully on issues like illegal immigration, like having borders and security. And he always talks about the drugs that are pouring in also. He's on top of that as well.
Well, huge.
So I think this is very easy. Look at, of all people,
huge issue.
You know, President Obama this past weekend, that's right, President Obama this past weekend told the Democrats, you got to do more than mope. They've gone from hope to mope. And they're wondering where he is, why he's not a stronger voice. Why isn't he speaking up and speaking out on a number of these issues other than the $400,000 speeches? So they're in disarray. We're not paying attention to that. We're just going to get borders, sovereign nation with borders.
All right. I want to ask you about Supreme Court nominees. I'm curious. 2 women in the group. The group is a very small group, maybe 5, maybe 7. What do you think?
Well, don't forget, the list is 25, and that's really the key here. This president has been transparent
the president's down to 5 and maybe 2. We've got Amy Barrett and Joan Larson. What do you think of them?
Well, I'm not going to comment on any individual jurist. I can tell you that everyone that the president has considered checks all the boxes for brilliant and capable, a judicial temperament, not putting their own personal feelings where the Constitution belongs. The judiciary interprets the laws. It does not make the laws. We got too many judges today making things up as they go along. The executive executes them. The legislative branch should be making them. But it's the interpretive function of the judiciary that's so important here. This president has said he wants academic and professional credentials. And I think anyone you see on the list are people of great intellect and great experience, honorable men and women on the president's list. And look, the president put out his list, and then he added to the list. Jeanine, this man is so transparent and accountable in such an important decision. I want to tell you, as somebody who spent some time with him today as well on this issue, I just have to tell you, he understands the gravity. As he has said, nominating to the Supreme Court is one of the most important things that any president does.
Of course
and
it is.
All the nominees, all the justices on the Supreme Court outlast anyone's presidency of 8 years. But in many ways, some of these jurists outlast the presidents who actually nominate. They understand. He understands that you're talking about 30, 40, 45 years of jurisprudence, and he takes the decision very with great gravity and responsibility. Now, other people are advising, but it is his decision to make, and he's been very respectful to the United States senators on the right and the left, you know, who are advising and consenting as well.
Well, I have a feeling that the president will probably, as with Gorsuch, get the person on the Supreme Court that he wants. Anyway, Kellyanne Conway, so good to have you on the show tonight. Thank you.